LSU Daily, presented by Tecovas.
WNXX, Jackson, podcast. KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injuries. LA 21. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios, this is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. That means we're brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Tigers win. They win the opener in Hoover of the SEC tournament. We are talking about that for the next couple of hours. Glenn West with us at the bottom of the hour at 1:30. Talk a little bit about Jaden Rashada suing the University of Florida and Billy Napier and their boosters. We'll talk to Sharif Ishak from WDSU about the New Orleans Saints and their OTAs that took place today. So lots and lots to get to, but it has to start in Hoover, Alabama with LSU and Georgia. We'll never know for sure, but I felt pretty good about where LSU was entering today. Now, that can change rapidly based on the results around the country over the next 5 days. We are well aware of that. However, I felt pretty good about it. I feel really good about it right now as LSU goes out there and gets a win over Georgia. I can tell you before we get into the RPI stuff and the selection stuff, LSU's RPI just jumped 5 spots up to number 25 in the RPI. You've got 14 league wins. 2 of the teams that tied with you with 13 league wins are going to lose today. Guaranteed, because they play each other. So you're looking at a situation where LSU would be very difficult to leave out at this point based on RPI, based on the number of SEC wins, based on how they've played of late, all of those things that matter. Is it possible LSU still gets left out? Sure. I feel really, really good about it, and that's because they went out today and played one of their better baseball games of the entire year, if we're being honest. LSU won the ball game in convincing fashion, but it could have even been worse. I mean, LSU squandered some opportunities early in the game, in a game that they won 9-1. You go back to the first inning, got the bases loaded and 1 out. Mac Bingham pops up and Ashton Larson strikes out, so you only get 2 there. And then in the second, you got the bases loaded and 1 out, and then you just get a RBI ground out for 1 run, and you can't really add to it, so you only have a 3-0 lead. Georgia would come back and get a run in the second inning. And then in the 5th, you've got the bases loaded and just 1 out, and Michael Braswell hits into a double play. So while it was a quality start for LSU, and they got a lot of guys on base against, honestly, what we're talking about is the back end of Georgia's bullpen, you didn't come through with that huge blow that just knocked Georgia off their feet. Now, what you did do is do an incredible job defensively. Mac Bingham makes a diving catch in the outfield. It was a really good play. Tommy White makes a barehanded play on a swinging bunt that was a fantastic effort. I thought for sure it was a hit looking at it live, and he makes the play. Mac Bingham makes a catch near the wall in center field. That was a heck of a play, and probably the best of them all was Ashton Larson going deep off the wall and jumping at the wall in right field to make a fantastic play. I mean, those were 4 really, really strong defensive plays for LSU, and all of that backed up what was likely Gage Jump's best outing as an LSU Tiger. Sure, the line score reads a little bit better in his outing at Missouri, but that's Missouri. This is Georgia. Georgia is an offensive power in the SEC, and I'll tell you straight up, if you're playing that game in Athens and the swings are the exact same, Georgia probably hits 3 or 4 home runs today. That's just the reality of the situation. That's a small ballpark there at Foley Field. The Hoover Met, not a small ballpark. But we're playing in the Hoover Met. Be aggressive, pound the strike zone, and Gage Jump stayed ahead, worked ahead, and put some guys away when he had to. He had, when the dust had settled, 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 run. It was earned, only 1 walk, and 7 strikeouts. He did not allow a home run through 105 pitches. 75 of his 105 were for strikes. I told you yesterday that I did not think Gage Jump would pitch today. I did not think they were going to take a college pitcher who has thrown more innings this year than any time in his entire life, is coming off Tommy John surgery, and was on 4 days rest. I did not think Gage Jump would get the call. And then you pair that with Jay Johnson on Saturday saying, we're in the field. We're one of the top 15 teams in the country. It's not a debate. We're in the field. And his words say that. His actions say, we have to win this game. And in fact, he said on the telecast, yeah, we're going for it today. And they did. And they went with their best guy who was available, and that was Gage Jump. And it turned out to be the absolute right move. Jump right now is throwing the baseball exceptionally well. I gave you the statistics over his last 5 SEC starts back on Monday. And I'll add now this start, so his last 6 starts against SEC competition. He's gone 38 innings, only 9 earned runs. That is a 2.13 ERA. He has struck out 82 and walked 19. He has been absolutely sensational. And Jay Johnson said, you know what? We're going with that guy. And he showed up, answered the bell, and was fantastic. And LSU had a 5-run lead there, and Jump comes out of the game, and you go to Griffin Herring. That, again, suggests to me that Jay Johnson thinks this is the one we have to have. And you go to your best guy. And Herring worked himself into some trouble there. Walked the first 2 guys he faced. You come in to face the 9-hole, and you walk him. And that turns the lineup over to Collins and Condon, who are both getting on base at over a 500 clip this year. And you walk Collins to get to Condon. And that is quite literally the last guy in amateur baseball you'd like to face. And you got him to roll over it and hit into a double play. Wasn't the prettiest double play because Tommy White makes the play, throws it across, and Jerry Jones' footwork wasn't exactly ballerina-esque over there, but you got it done. And you escaped that damage with Condon. And I thought when LSU hung the 3 spot there in the 9th, thanks to a couple of really big swings, one from Tommy White, that with an 8-run lead, Jay Johnson might say, hey, Justin Lohr, hey, Gavin Guidry, hey, Will Helmers, you take the 9th here since we're up 8. You know what? No. We believe we sew this thing up with 1 win today against Georgia, a top 10 RPI team. Let's just leave our guy out there and get it done. And Griffin Herring went out there and got it done. So you look at it any way you want to slice it. LSU offensively created a ton of traffic, had 14 hits in the game. Also drew 7 walks, were hit by 2 pitches. I mean, you're talking about 23 base runners LSU created in 9 innings. You didn't make an error. Quite the opposite. You made sensational plays. Gage Jump was as good as he's been all year long, and Griffin Herring comes in and worked himself into trouble, but worked himself right back out of it and hung a couple of zeros as he's done all year long. That was a complete and sound baseball game that LSU just played, and for most people would suggest they have cemented themselves in the field. I'll talk about it a little bit more in the next segment, and I'll go through some of the numbers and some of the things that we're looking at and some of the places around the country where we still need to pay attention because it's just an ever-evolving week. We've done this a lot of different ways. We've done this trying to get a top 8. We've done this trying to get a regional host. We've done this trying to get into the field of 64. Like Pulmonaries last year, you're trying to find your way in. They did. 2 years ago, you're trying to find your way to a host. They didn't quite get there. And last year, obviously, you're trying to get a top 8, and they certainly made that happen, even though they didn't help themselves very much in Hoover. They had done enough work in the conference schedule to get that done. But today, you came in a little bit uneasy because we talked about it. You had iffy metrics against the top 5, the 5 teams that are bunched up in the SEC, and then you never know how many bids are going to get stolen. And so what did they do? They went out there and they played a great game. And I'll tell you this. When this team gets in, there's reason to believe they can do some things. Like there just aren't that many teams in college baseball that have Gage Jump and Luke Holman ready to go. There aren't that many teams in college baseball that have a hitter like Tommy White, that have a hitter with numbers like Jared Jones, that have the experience that Alex Milazzo and Hayden Travinski have, that have the experience that I said Milazzo, Travinski, O'Pearson have. Like, it's a team that's got its flaws, sure. The bullpen is not 6 or 7 deep. It's getting better, but it's not 6 or 7 deep. But you've got a 1-2, which is the biggest thing. You've got experience, and there's a little bit of an intimidation factor when the purple and gold shows up, especially when it's not in the SEC. That's why I was a little hesitant when they sent Kentucky to Baton Rouge last year. I was like, well, Kentucky has already been here. Their eyes aren't going to get big. But then, Coastal Carolina and Stony Brook didn't seem to care too much. So you never quite know there. But there's a little bit of an intimidation factor that can go into LSU showing up. And right now, as we sit here on May the 21st at 1:15 in the afternoon, I don't think you're going to find many people on the selection committee or in college baseball circles who think that LSU's not getting in. So now you've got a decision to make tomorrow with, do you bring Luke Holman back on 4 days rest in what you don't feels like a must-win and isn't a lose-and-go-home situation? Do you give him an extra day's rest, or do you go with him against Kentucky? These are now decisions that Gage Johnson kind of has a luxury to decide on, where I think today he knew, okay, I'm not going to send Christian Little out there to get 5 outs. I'm not going to send Cade Anderson out there to see what he's got. I'm not going to go to Sam Dutton as an opener here. Like, we got to put our best foot forward. We got to win this game. Let's go. And Gage Jump was ready. He answered the bell, and he was fantastic. We will see him again next Friday, I believe, in an NCAA regional. Our baseball breakdowns all season long are brought to you by Pluckers. Our Tuesday shows are brought to you by Pluckers. 2 locations, Nicholson just south of campus, Mall, Louisiana, right there on Bluebonnet. Fantastic jumbo chicken wings. Lots of TVs and some cold beer. We'll be playing trivia tonight. Sports trivia, 8:30. We'll be watching SEC baseball, watching some NBA as well. Come on out and grab a team for sports trivia tonight. Very much looking forward to that. When we come back, what does this all mean for LSU's NCAA tournament resume? I will give you all the information that I currently have. That's next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Don't let the power go out. No need to let the power go out. Give yourself the peace of mind to know the power is not going to go out, whether that's at home, whether that's at the office. If you're a business owner, commercial property owner, and productivity goes down the tube when the power goes out, Generac generator from Boudreaux's Electric. Boudreaux's Electric is a premier Generac generator dealer. They're in the top 3% nationwide. And not every generator fits every single situation. That's why you have to get the folks from Boudreaux's Electric to come on out and just show you what they've got, and then you tell them what you need. How many square feet are we powering here? How much are we doing? Do you want the whole house to be running when the power goes out, or do you just want to make sure that it stays cool, fridge is running, and need a TV? Like, you can make custom decisions, and then they figure out what generator fits your need the best. Give yourself the peace of mind to know that the power is not going to go out on you. It's Boudreaux's Electric. They got that location they've had for 40 years down in Napoleonville. Gonzales coming very, very soon. Boudreaux's Electric. Give them a call. 985-397-1562. 985-397-1562. That is Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. We'll be recapping LSU Georgia from the SEC tournament, and Shea Dixon stops by 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Alford at third, Carter at first. Here's a ground ball right to Milam. He'll flip it to Braswell. Relay to first. In time for the double play. Tigers win. Tigers win. 9-1 the final here in Hoover. The number 11 seed Tigers knock out the 6th seed Georgia Bulldogs on a great performance from Gage Jump.
That's what it sounded like on the LSU Sports Radio Network. Chris Blair on the call with Bill Franquez from Hoover Metropolitan Stadium in Hoover, Alabama. The Tigers moving on to tomorrow. Well, they will face the Kentucky Wildcats in the beginning of the double elimination portion of the SEC tournament. So, what does this mean for the NCAA tournament picture? I will do my best to kind of hit all angles of that as we sit here today. There is a lot of volatility that goes on over the next 5 days. I think you're all very well aware of that. There are some teams in lower level conference tournaments who lose to teams with bad RPIs that back the RPI up a good bit. There are bids that are stolen. The SEC is consistently jockeying for position. Lots of things are happening. So I can't account for everything here. I can just kind of give you the status quo right now. Let's start with the SEC. You're very well aware LSU is one of 5 teams bunched there at 13 and 17. All of them have different levels of resumes here and there, different strengths and weaknesses, but you know, entering the SEC tournament, LSU had the worst RPI, the worst strength of schedule, and the fewest quad 1 wins of all of those teams that were tied at 13 and 17. That is no longer the case. LSU's RPI has jumped 5 spots today with that 1 win over Georgia, who was a top 10 RPI team, and they moved up to 25. LSU's RPI is now better than Vanderbilt's. Vanderbilt has also lost 4 series in a row. Vanderbilt plays Florida at 6:30 tonight. I believe Florida's case in the tournament is safer than Vanderbilt's. I would really not be offended if a Vanderbilt team that has lost 4 league series in a row has a worse RPI than LSU and lost in day 1 of the conference tournament went home. I think that would firmly put LSU in front of Vanderbilt. So that's one team that I'm looking at today, Vanderbilt. Get them out of here. Why do I think Florida's in, even though they're 13 and 17? Well, they have 13 quad 1 wins, which is excellent. And their strength of schedule is number 1. So I think that Florida is likely to get in. Do I know that? No. But I feel like Florida's resume is pretty good, 14-13 and 17. So I'm pulling for Florida over Vanderbilt today. South Carolina and Bama about to start up at the Hoover Met. I'm pulling for Alabama in that game. Alabama has 15 quad 1 wins. They are 15-19. That is very, very good. Their strength of schedule is 5. Their RPI is 18. I think that resume is better than South Carolina's. South Carolina only has 9 quadrant 1 wins. They're 9-18 against Q1, and their RPI is 19. South Carolina, coming into the Hoover Met, coming into the SEC tournament, has been swept in back-to-back weekends by Tennessee and Georgia. So they're playing poorly. They would have a 7-game losing streak if they lost. And quite frankly, LSU could jump them in the RPI if they were to beat Kentucky. So again, if we're talking about LSU beating Kentucky, we really don't have to worry about this because Kentucky has a number 2 RPI and you're going to move up 3 or 4 more spots. And you're way in. But we're just talking about all possible scenarios. And I have to account for LSU losing their next 2 games. So if we're going to start jockeying for position here, I'm pulling for Alabama to beat South Carolina. Give me a Gamecock team that's RPI is comparable with LSU's, whose quad 1 record is on par with LSU's. The winning percentage is actually worse, and LSU's 1 quad 1 win away, and they would have lost 7 games in a row. So in the SEC, I need Vanderbilt to lose, and I need South Carolina to lose. That's where we are in the Southeastern Conference. Now, as far as bid stealers go, that's going to be a more detailed conversation. I'm not going to go into all of them, but I am going to give you a couple that are pretty obvious that we'll certainly keep an eye on over the next 3 days here on this show. The American, East Carolina needs to win that tournament. It's asking a lot for a team to win a baseball tournament because it's a pretty random sport. And there's a lot that goes. Pitching staffs get taxed over the course of a week, and the best team doesn't always win a conference baseball tournament. But East Carolina not winning that tournament would be a stolen bid for somebody in the American. In the Big East, UConn is going to get in to the NCAA tournament. UConn went 17-4 in the Big East, and their RPI is 37. They will be in at-large at 17-4 if they don't win their conference tournament. So those two, East Carolina and UConn, absolutely must-haves. And then we'll just talk about right around here in Conference USA. Louisiana Tech and Dallas Baptist are in. Louisiana Tech's RPI is right next to LSU's. They are number 26 in the RPI. They are 18-6 in Conference USA. They are going to get in. Dallas Baptist is better than that. They're 17-7. Dallas Baptist has an RPI of 21 and a quad 1 record of 8-2. So that's a team that's going to get in as well. Right around these parts where we see a lot of times, LSU goes to Corvallis and Oregon State comes to Baton Rouge, so it certainly isn't all regional. But how many times have you seen Rice come to Baton Rouge, Southeastern come to Baton Rouge? We've seen a lot of regional matchups. LSU went to Southern Miss for a super. To a regional, those were paired up. Louisiana Tech and Dallas Baptist, if they don't win Conference USA, that will steal another bid because those two teams are in. And I would not be shocked if LSU was not the 3 seed in a regional that potentially featured Louisiana Tech or UL Lafayette as a 2, especially if one of those teams wins their conference tournament. Just LSU went up to Corvallis for that regional a few years ago, and they sent Northwestern State up there too. It's just sometimes that kind of stuff can happen. So right now, just to summarize where everything sits, LSU is in very, very good shape in my estimation. A team that has won 14 games against the SEC with an RPI of 25 that's not really going to back up much from there is going to get into the field of 64. I'll give you the example. Georgia just lost a game to the RPI 30 team, and they backed up 1 spot. If LSU loses to Kentucky, whose RPI today is 3, if they lose that game tomorrow, they may not back up any. They may back up 1 spot. LSU's RPI is not going to back up to 35 in this tournament. There are no bad RPI teams here. There's only really good RPI teams here. And you see that LSU beats Georgia and jumps up 5 spots. You beat Kentucky, who's number 3 RPI. You're going to be looking at an LSU team, depending on the outcomes tonight, that's 23-24 in the RPI. That's plenty good. So it's been a very, very, very high wire act for LSU over the last 6 weeks now. But they've done enough. They have done enough to get themselves into the field. And I prepared myself back in January and March to talk about how the results in Hoover don't necessarily carry over to what you see in regional play. There's too much massive evidence against that over the last 3 years. Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and LSU over the last 3 years have been hammered in Hoover and have gone on to win the national championship. So I'm not here to tell you that LSU's white hot and they're going to cruise through a regional. But I do feel like Gage Jump's throwing it great and has for over a month. Luke Holman's got a track record that suggests he's going to be very, very good when he gets the baseball in a regional. And you've got some great hitters in your lineup that are going to be a problem for some non-SEC talent level teams. And that is the built-in advantage that you've got when you play in the Southeastern Conference. When you show up for a regional, you are assured no one else will be there from your league. You're assured. And that is an advantage for all the reasons I talked about yesterday, with all the star power that has gone from other conferences and drifted into the SEC. So this one, it would have been a long week if LSU lost to Georgia. It would have been a long week. Right now, I'm going to pull for these outcomes I'm talking about. I'm going to pull for Florida to beat Vandy. I'm going to pull for Bama to beat South Carolina. I'd like Dallas Baptist to win that tournament and East Carolina to win that tournament. The fact of the matter is, it's difficult to come up with the scenario that knocks LSU out of the NCAA tournament, and I'm not prepared to do it here today. I think the Tigers are in the field of 64. Huge hat tip to everyone involved in purple and gold over there for showing up at 3-12 and saying, you know what, we're going to keep fighting, keep scratching, keep digging out of this hole, and they've emerged. They'll have a chance to play next week and compete for another national championship. Am I ready to pick them to win that right now? I am not. But you're in the dance. That's all that matters at this point. So we'll start talking a little bit about Kentucky in hour number 2. Glenn West. Couldn't come up with Glenn's name there. I have him every Tuesday. You figured I'd know it by now. Glenn West, Go 24/7 senior writer, is going to jump aboard and talk to us next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Safety is such a big deal, especially as our loved ones age and want to stay in the home that's been home for a very long time. And that's respectable and certainly doable. But maybe you need One Bath and Closets to come put some safety precautions in the bathroom, which can be such a hazardous space in the home, especially for those who are aging. Non-slip floors, guardrails around toilets and bathtubs and showers. Talking about walk-in tubs, benches in the shower. All these things can make life easier and safer on those that are aging that we love. David Duvall and his team do this kind of stuff all the time. Go to OneBathAndClosets.com. Request that free consultation. Let David Duvall and his team tell you what they can do over at One Bath and Closets. If you tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you over there, $1,000 off your project. $1,000 off. It's real cash there. It's One Bath and Closets. Check them out online, OneBathAndClosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few...
Join us for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from Roca Pizzeria. LSU baseball will be going on alongside the show, so be with us along with Scott Rabelais, Wes Reynolds, and professional handicapper Randy McKay. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Wednesday, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Just having a discussion with old Jacob Beck there in the producer chair about the fact that I was dreading an entire June with absolutely zero baseball to talk about.
No more.
Doesn't appear that's going to be a problem because, like I told Beck just now, like if LSU loses 2 out of 3 to Ole Miss over the weekend and then loses today to Kentucky, like I can talk baseball on tomorrow's show, kind of a go over the entire season, who I think leaving, who's staying. But then, like, baseball's over on Wednesday of SEC tournament week, if that were the case. Instead, they sweep Ole Miss. They win today. Everyone's feeling like they've got a spot in the field. And now I'm excited to watch Alabama and South Carolina play baseball, which I wouldn't care at all about if LSU's season was completely over. So I'm happy. I think a lot of you are happy. Maybe Glenn West is happy. Let's talk to him. He's on the Jim's Firearms Hotline, of course, a senior writer over at Go 24/7. Glenn, are you prepared to say that LSU is 100% in the field of 64?
I think it would take something pretty wild and crazy to keep LSU out of the tournament, especially after that kind of performance today. I mean, they totally controlled that game from start to finish, and it was really impressive baseball, really for 9 innings from LSU today.
What do you think of the decision to start Gage Jump on 4 days rest?
I liked it. I mean, I thought that, look, this is a guy who's coming off of a serious injury from a year and a half ago. It's thrown a lot of innings for you this season and really kind of looked like a starting Friday night guy over the last month or so. He's been just absolutely dominant. And I think what it really told me, as I'm sure it probably told you and a lot of other people who were watching today, is that LSU knew it needed this game. I know that Jay didn't come out and say that on Saturday. He felt pretty good about LSU's chances after the sweep against Ole Miss, but you win today and you feel so much better about your chances of getting into that field of 64. And you put the guy out there that's been pitching the best for you, and Gage Jump delivered. I mean, that is 7 innings of just total domination against an offense in Georgia that was number 2 in the SEC in hitting, and pretty much all statistics you look at in SEC hitting, Georgia was at or near the top of the list. And so for Jump to go out there and shove 7 straight innings of 1-run baseball, I thought was really, really impressive. And a major assist needs to go to the LSU defense, who I thought played probably its best game of the year defensively in the field today.
I'm right there with you talking about Jay knowing he needs that game. You go with your Friday night guy on 4 days rest, and then you go to Griffin Herring. Even with an 8-run lead in the 9th, he was still out there.
Yeah.
I think Jay was ready to win this game and put all of it to bed. So with that being said, and we'll talk a little bit more about the game, but I do think that the pitching conversation is interesting. We don't feel like LSU's in a must-win situation, 1, for the SEC tournament, even if you lose, you play again, and 2, for the NCAA tournament. So would you give Luke Coleman an extra day, or would you pitch him on 4 days rest as well?
That's a good question. I think I would probably pitch him tomorrow as well. I mean, he hasn't had his best stuff recently, and I think maybe that would be the only reason I'd have some hesitancy. I mean, Gage Jump has been just lights out for a month now. I think we've seen Holman be a little bit more shaky, and so maybe giving him that extra day's rest would help. In terms of who you could see in that game tomorrow, if it's not Holman, I'm sure you're probably looking at Sam Dutton again. You could be looking at some kind of bullpen deal here where you throw Cade Anderson some, you throw Aiden Moffitt some. I think they'd have to piece it together pretty consistently tomorrow, but I'm a little less psyched on the idea of giving Holman 4 days rest just because of how he's kind of had to really battle his last couple starts to put up some good performances.
Is there anything to the fact that LSU's wins and losses kind of turned around when Alex Milazzo became the everyday catcher?
I think probably there's something to that. I mean, look, defensively, he's a whiz. I mean, he's done a really nice job back there going back for years now, and I've really liked the at-bats that he's taken at the plate, and just, he's not a guy that's going to get on base 3-4 times a game. He's going to strike out some, but he's going to more times than not give you pretty good at-bats. He's going to work a pitcher at the plate, and as you saw today, he'll get a hold of one, and he can knock one out into the outfield and bring some guys in some clutch moments. I mean, he's done that a couple of times this season since really getting that everyday opportunity, and another guy that I'd probably want to throw in there in terms of his performance has been Josh Pearson. I mean, Pearson has been right there with Milazzo in terms of just kind of the vet that Jay Johnson has really leaned on at this time of year. And I think it's no coincidence today that you saw Pearson go out there and rip 3 RBI swings together to kind of help LSU get off to that really great start.
Have you noticed a change in attitude with this LSU team over the last month when you talk to them, whether it's during the week or after games?
Yeah, not really, because this team has really kind of maintained all along that they didn't feel like their season was over. And they kind of had that approach even a month ago when they were sitting, 8 or 9 games below 500 in SEC play. I mean, they kept coming to work. They kept fighting, kept battling. And I think they kind of knew that they hadn't played their best baseball yet. And they felt like they were maybe turning a corner in some of these games. And really what I think kind of this season has come down to is they've been competitive in most of the games. I mean, I know we want to harp on those Game 3 losses and all the kind of run rules that kind of happened to them early in the year, but they were very competitive in all those series earlier this season too. And it really just came down to a pitch here, a hit there, kind of a swing or a momentum swing that kind of cost them a couple of those series early in the season. And I think they felt like they still had a really, really good team. They just weren't able to capitalize on some of those moments early in the year. And I think you've seen that completely turn head over heels for them here over the last 4 or 5 weeks.
What has been a bigger surprise to you? Is it Michael Braswell's ability to get on base and drive in some runs and just be a productive piece to the offense, or Tommy White's defense?
I think it's probably Tommy White's defense. I mean, he's made some plays this season that I just didn't know that he could make. I mean, that one today, that slow roller where he barehanded it and threw it on a line at Jared Jones right on the money. That's a big league kind of play right there, in terms of just the execution and just the difficulty of the play. And Tommy's made a bunch of those this year. I mean, he's really improved defensively. Braswell was somebody that we saw could hit in the fall. And I think just kind of got off to a little bit of a slow start, but he's really picked it up at the plate. Been very impressed with his at-bats that he's given you in the leadoff spot. But Tommy White's defense at third base has changed games at times this year as well, and I think that's probably the most surprising thing of those two that you threw at me.
I feel like it's important over the next 2 days that Jared Jones and Hayden Travinski kind of find something, because they've been searching for it for a little over a week here. Travinski a little bit longer. You kind of on that page?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, those are two of your power hitters. I mean, outside of Tommy, those are the guys that you kind of hope can be the long ball hitters for you, guys that can get extra base hits and really, turn a 1-run inning or a 0-run inning into a crooked inning. So you need a couple of those at bats to go their way. But look, Jared Jones drew 2 walks today. I thought he took a little bit more disciplined at bats today. He'll connect on a couple here as LSU, I think, moves through the week. So I probably would have a little bit more kind of hopes for Travinski and getting it together than Jones, because I do think Jones has been so much better this year with his plate plate discipline. But certainly those are two guys that LSU would like to kind of round into their peak form here as the season comes to a close.
Let's wrap things up where we started them, and I'll just stick it to the SEC here. I mean, now how do you feel like LSU stands up with those teams that they tied at 13 and 17 now with the win and moving on to play a top 3 RPI team tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think, the question here is, which teams of those guys move on today? Does Alabama, Florida, Vanderbilt, those are all teams that you kind of lost to in those series this season. Are they able to kind of move forward in the tournament as well? I think if a couple of those drop those games today, I think it gives LSU a little bit of a better chance to certainly feel like they're right there in that mix of that grouping. But look, I think that LSU, it would take a lot for them not to get in. And I think you're probably looking more so at just those out-of-conference teams that they're piling up against instead of more of the in-conference teams. But I do think that it certainly wouldn't help if somebody like an Alabama or a Florida or somebody dropped the game today and really help LSU's chances.
He's Glenn West, senior editor at Go247. You want to follow along all the coverage for this baseball team as they hit the postseason, you can do it at Go247. Glenn's with us every single Tuesday. Thanks, man.
All right, thanks, Hunt. Appreciate it.
Baseball breakdowns all season long brought to you by Pluckers. They also bring you our Tuesday shows each and every week. Take a time out, come back, get you caught up on what's going on in Hoover right now. I think we just saw the defensive play of the tournament, and it's Tuesday morning, or kind of Tuesday morning, 140. I can't get anything right. Days of the week, time. Go to commercial. We'll come back and close out.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. So it's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. We'll be recapping LSU Georgia from the SEC tournament, and Shea Dixon stops by 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Now let's wrap up hour number 1 here on this Tuesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Pluckers, with some Saints conversation. Of course, rookie minicamp, OTAs, gone on over the last 10 days down there in New Orleans, and Dennis Allen and Mickey Loomis meeting with the media. I want to start with Mickey Loomis here because we talked a lot about the Saints and their kind of plan entering this offseason. It's kind of looked different than I can remember over the last 10, 12, 15 years, and for good reason. But Mickey Loomis kind of alluded to that when he was talking about their approach as they enter the 2024 season.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that was the mode we were in coming into the offseason, is that, look, we need to still recover from, some of the cap things that happened in the previous year. So I would say, yeah, that was probably the case.
And that's just never been the case. It's just been, hey, we'll figure it out. Just extend the contracts, shove some money in there as some roster bonuses, and we'll figure it out down the road. And that's not the approach they've taken this time around. So the question is, have y'all turned the corner here with your salary cap?
I don't know if turn the corner is the right word, but look, I think, we're making progress. We're getting back to feeling comfortable with our plan going forward. We're always looking 2-3 years out in front. And yeah, so I think we feel a little more comfortable.
And so one of the things they knew they had to address, salary cap or not, you got to figure out your tackles, because you've got Ryan Ramczyk that's in trouble. Trevor Penning's in a little bit of trouble here. We know this. We all understand the situation the Saints have been in with their tackles. So the first order of business in my mind was you got to get Andrews Pete on the phone and try to get him signed. We know now they did not make that happen, but Loomis said they did make an attempt.
Andrews is a good example. We made, attempts to get him re-signed, and he chose to go someplace else, which that's what free agency is about. And look, Andrews was a good pick for us and played for us for a long time. Excited for him. I know he's got a new chapter. He's probably excited about a new team, and wish him nothing but the best of luck.
So that's one they couldn't make happen. So I think they realized that writing was on the wall, and we need to figure something out here in the draft and make sure that we hit on a tackle. We now know that Taliesin Fuanga was the pick there in the first round for New Orleans, and Mickey Loomis spoke to the importance of drafting a tackle with that first pick in the draft.
Whatever you pick in the first round is going to be important, whether you're, adding to a strength of your team or whether you're filling, a particular, hole. Look, I think it was coincidental that this year, the strength in the early part of the draft was offensive line and quarterback, obviously, and then we had a need at the offensive line, and that strength, turned out to be a good thing for us.
Word today is that Taliesin Fuanga is working with the left side of the offensive line at Saints OTAs, working at left tackle, and Trevor Penning working at right tackle. So that's a little bit of a different look. I wouldn't say it's shocking to see that. I think the conventional wisdom would be that Trevor Penning, who played left tackle in college would be a left tackle, and Taliesin Fuanga, who played right tackle in college, would be a right tackle. But we understand that Trevor Penning's 2 years into this thing, and we don't know if he can play anywhere on the outside or the inside of the offensive line. It's a matter of trying to find that fit. And Taliesin Fuanga is a really talented dude. Maybe he can move over to the left side and play. It's something that they're going to give a look to here at the end of May, and you'd like to kind of have that in the back of your mind and then have it kind of crystallize for you in August before you full speed ahead with training camp and understand where guys need to play. So it's just a look that they're going to give here, and we'll see if that's where those two guys end up sticking. We're talking young players there that the Saints have drafted. Chase Young's still a pretty young player, but a guy the Saints have brought in on a one-year deal, and Mickey Loomis kind of gave his thoughts on the new Saints edge rusher.
I think this, when he came out, was it 3 years ago? Look, he was one of the best defensive prospects we'd seen in a while, and had a great first season. Then he's dealt with some injuries and some circumstances that are both within his control and out of his control. And to get a player that's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder and ready to prove something with his level of talent is exciting for us. And look, I'm excited because he's excited. He's excited to be here with this group, and he's been very enthusiastic. He's dove into the deep end of the pool with us. There's no toe in the water with him, and all that is really exciting.
One of the things about Chase Young, and we spoke about this when they made that signing, is that not only is he a supreme talent that's pretty young, he's also been productive when he's been healthy. Now, he goes out there and his body can't hold up. The neck doesn't allow him to practice well enough, and he can't get into shape, and then he may get hurt. And if that happens, that was the small risk involved with a one-year contract. But the upside on that thing is so awesome because he's not way past his prime, and he's not a limited player in any way. You're talking about, he's limited here. He's not limited at all. There's no limit on Chase Young. Chase Young could be one of the best pass rushers in the NFL week to week. He's just got to stay healthy. And so I kind of like it from that perspective. Dennis Allen, Saints head coach, moving on from Mickey Loomis here, talked about what he's seen from Chase Young in his short time in New Orleans.
Look, things are going well right now. Look, I don't expect to see him out there on the practice field, working anytime soon. He's been able to participate in some of the walkthrough stuff that we've had. That'll be the mode that he's going to be in for, the majority of, this time of year, and then we'll see where we're at when training camp comes around.
And that's just a wait-and-see approach the Saints are going to have to take with Chase Young because you're dealing with an injury that can be really, really serious. You got to make sure you get that healed up. We're not talking about a broken finger here that you've got to figure out. Now, neck issues, got to get that right. So that's your update from Saints OTAs today. We'll chat with Sharif Ishak coming up here in the bottom of hour number 2 and talk a little bit more Saints. As Sharif's been out there with the Saints and was out there at the golf tournament yesterday as well, and can tell us a little bit more about what Mickey Loomis and Dennis Allen have had to say and what he saw out there at Saints OTAs down in New Orleans. If you're looking for our Saints coverage, you can always find it Hunt on Saints on YouTube. It's Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Like, subscribe, rate, review. We always appreciate that. If you subscribe to it all year long, our Saints coverage just goes right to the top of your feed all the time. We also very much appreciate that. We got a busy hour number 2 coming up. ESPN has ranked its top 25 college football teams exiting the portal window. Crazy story out of kind of Florida, kind of Miami, kind of Athens, kind of Tempe with Jaden Rashada and what his saga has been in college football. Again, we're going to get with Sharif, so a lot to get to in hour number 2. To close out hour number 1 here, tell you what's going on in Hoover. Alabama has a 1-0 lead on South Carolina. It looked like South Carolina was going to score in the first inning. They hit a gapper that was just a rocket, and the Alabama right fielder came over and made what I think is probably going to be the defensive play of the entire SEC tournament. Ashton Larson made a great one in the first game, but this was a ridiculous play in the gap to thwart a South Carolina rally, and then the Tide comes back and gets a run there in the bottom of the first inning. We're pulling for Alabama here if you're in purple and gold. We'd like the Crimson Tide to send South Carolina to their 7th consecutive loss and potentially behind LSU in the pecking order, depending on what goes on over the next few days with the Tigers over in Hoover. So right now, top of the second inning in Hoover, Alabama 1, South Carolina nothing. Still to come at 6:30, Vandy and Florida. And then the nightcap, which is supposed to start at 8, but usually starts at 10:15, will, of course, be Mississippi State and Ole Miss. So that's the update from Hoover. looking around here. Yeah, I want to. I'll save some of that for hour number 2. If you missed any of hour number 1, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can always find us. We're basically a de facto post-game show for LSU and Georgia this morning. That game finished up right about 12:50, and we went on the air there at 1 o'clock. So I talked about what that win meant for LSU, how well they played in the game, and then talked about some of the things that are going on the bubble with RPI, strength of schedule, Quadrant 1 wins, stolen bids, all of that stuff was right there at 1:15, and then Glenn West added some context for us at 1:15. Always appreciate our conversations with Glenn and our baseball breakdowns all season long, brought to you by Plucker. So are our Tuesday shows. Want you out there tonight for Plucker Sports Trivia, 8:30. Be watching some SEC baseball, some NBA basketball, playing some sports trivia, eating some wings, drinking some beers. Always a great time over there at Plucker's. Try the new sauce, Breggie's Creole Crush, Alex Bregman's sauce. Inspired by his spice blend there at Pluckers. It's really, really good. I had a chance to try it. Got some heat, not too much, a lot of flavor, and it is fantastic stuff. So get on by Pluckers. 2 locations, Nicholson just south of campus and Bluebonnet Mall of Louisiana. That's it for hour number 1 here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're going to come back after Sports Center and talk some college football. Where does LSU rank in the ESPN early top 25? We'll tell you.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. The Pacers are in the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 10 years, while the Celtics are there for the 6th time in the last 8 years. Game 1 in Boston tonight. The Pacers are the decided underdog in this series. ESPN's Austin Rivers.
We've been overlooking them all playoffs. They just keep surprising everybody. Nobody had them beating the Knicks. People thought they were even going to lose Game 7, even with the injuries of half the Knicks core. But they just keep playing well, and their bench has been fantastic. TJ McConnell, Obi Toppin, Nembhard, all these guys have had an impact on multiple games.
Austin Rivers on Unsportsmanlike. Our ESPN radio coverage of Game 1 starts at 7:30 Eastern. The game also on ESPN and ESPN2. Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg says the city's police department will investigate if officers followed proper protocols during Scotty Scheffler's arrest last week. Scheffler is facing multiple charges. The Stanley Cup playoffs move to the conference final round tomorrow night in New York, with the Rangers and Panthers playing Game 1 in the Eastern Conference Final.
Feeling great starts with a great shave, and great shaves start with Barbasol Shaving Cream. That's Barbasol Shaving Cream, an American classic for over 100 years. Close Shave America. Close Shave Barbasol.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Game 2 in Hoover is underway. Alabama threatening to add to its 1-0 lead. Tide has the bases loaded, nobody out in the bottom of the second inning in that second game from the Hoover Met. We'll keep you posted on that as we move forward. Always football season to an extent around this part of the world, so we'll squeeze a little football in here as Mark Schlabach from ESPN.com put together his post-spring top 25, and I took a look at it, and there are a couple of these that I want to take a bit of an issue with. And certainly not Georgia at number 1. I feel fine about Georgia at 1. It's certainly not Ohio State at number 2. I know Ohio State's a little bit cranky with what's gone on in Ann Arbor over the last couple of years, and now they see maybe a crack in that with Jim Harbaugh moving on. They're spending heavy on NIL. They've got a super loaded roster there at Ohio State. They're number 2. Texas is number 3. Everybody seems to think they're going to be very, very good, and I probably give them the benefit of the doubt there. Obviously, you've lost some significant talent with Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell at wide receiver. You lost 2 highly drafted defensive linemen as well. But you got Quinn Ewers back, and that's a team that's recruited really, really well there in Austin. He's got Oregon at number 4. I don't pretend to know a ton about Oregon. I know Bo Nix has moved on, and Dillian Gabriel's taken over there. I know Evan Stewart has moved in there, and that's obviously a guy that's got a ton of talent that we saw in College Station the last couple of years, but I don't have any quibbles with that. Notre Dame at 5, I would push back on that a little bit. I just don't know what they've done that would suggest that's a top 5 team program in the country. I don't love that. But then you start to get into the SEC teams, and that's where I really like to chop this up a little bit. And I'll skip over Ole Miss at 6 and Bama at 7 for now, for Missouri at 8. Here's the deal. I think Eli Drinkwitz is probably a pretty interesting dude to have a beer with. I think Eli Drinkwitz has had a really successful career calling offensive plays, and he's won a lot of games as the head coach. Am I prepared to sit here and tell you that in an SEC that is bringing Texas and Oklahoma to the party, that I believe Missouri is going to back up the season they had last year where they won 10 games with another top 8 season? I do not. Now, this may be Joe LSU guy having an ego and not allowing anybody else to get into the club because LSU's won some national championships. We look down upon teams that look like Missouri and Ole Miss. Maybe it is that, and I could be proven completely wrong, and that's the beauty of this. They'll get out there and play. But I just don't trust Missouri to go out there and do this again. If you gave me the over-under on Missouri wins at like 8.5, I'd probably take the under. Now, you'd have to take a look at their schedule, obviously, because not everybody is exactly the same. But I will look at Missouri's schedule. I think they have no problem in the non-conference with Murray State, Buffalo, and Boston College, and then they get Vanderbilt at home. So that looks like 4-0. At Texas A&M, am I ready to tell you they're going to win that game? I'm not. Then they're at UMass, so that's an interesting scheduling quirk there. Why are you going to play in Massachusetts? But whatever. Then is the part where they get into the real crux of it. Auburn, at Bama, Oklahoma, at South Carolina, at Mississippi State, Arkansas. The best part of what Missouri is here is not their roster. It's that they don't play LSU. They don't play Georgia. They don't play Tennessee. They don't play Ole Miss. They don't play Texas. So you could suggest they got a little bit of break. Now, they're at Bama. That's no picnic. But they do play Arkansas. They do play Mississippi State. They do play Vanderbilt. And I don't know what South Carolina's going to be. So maybe just based on the schedule, they're going to win more games than I think the roster warrants. But I just have a hard time chunking Missouri up there in the top 10 because they played really well last year. Luther Burden's back, and so is Brady Cook. I just don't trust that program to stack really good seasons on top of each other. And so that brings us back up to Ole Miss and Alabama, which are in completely different situations. One is in a state of transition. The other is in full speed ahead, let's get this done mode. And the suggestion is that Ole Miss catches a rather favorable schedule as well. That's what Mark Schlabach writes in this piece. And, okay, if you look at it, they don't play Alabama this year. They do not play Texas A&M this year. They do not play Texas this year. But they do catch Georgia. They're at LSU. They got Oklahoma. And then the lesser teams that they play would be Mississippi State, Arkansas, Kentucky maybe. And then you have to throw, I guess, Florida in that group, which is weird to toss that in as the lesser teams. But based on today's news that we're going to talk about a little later, Florida may not even have a head coach for that game. So maybe it's just a little more schedule than not, even though I think Ole Miss is going to have some trouble with some of those games, namely in Tiger Stadium and certainly with Georgia. And then Alabama. What does this look like? I don't know, but I'm fascinated to watch. For years, you already knew when you showed up Labor Day weekend what was coming out of that tunnel in the Crimson. It was going to be a team full of 5 stars, full of first-round picks. It was incredibly well prepared, incredibly disciplined, and was going to fall out of bed and win 11 games. That is gone. They still got some 5-star recruits. They got some guys that will be drafted high. I don't know how well they're coached. I don't know how disciplined they are. And I don't know what happens when they fall out of bed. But I doubt it is a 11-win baseline, which is what we dealt with for 15 years. So I think there's intrigue in what Alabama is. Mark Schlabach says they're 7th. And that should right there speak to how different things are. When was the last time you think they got ranked 7th in any sort of college football preview poll that was put out in May? Decades. So where's LSU? Mark Schlabach puts the Tigers in at number 14. So the Tigers going to have a new look on offense. Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas gone. Garrett Nussmeier picked up where he left off in the bowl game. 7 of 7 in the spring game. He's got Joe Sloan, Xavier Thomas, C.J. Daniels. And Brian Kelly brought in Blake Baker to turn around a unit that ranked 81st in scoring defense and 118th in pass defense in 2023. They still got to replace Mekhi Wingo, Mason Smith. And we'll see if they can do that. You got defensive end Gabriel Relaford, an early enrollee that was a bright spot in the spring. They also picked up a transfer defensive tackle in JVR Suggs from Grand Valley State last week for depth. The secondary continued to have breakdowns in the spring game. Okay, that's pretty comprehensive breakdown, and I think everybody's kind of on the same page as that. And I'm trying to develop a big deal of confidence in Blake Baker's ability to overhaul this thing, but it's still, as I sit here in May, I look back and I can't get that image of teams just going right up and down the field out of my brain. Like, it was almost embarrassing to sit there and watch Texas A&M go right up and down the field in the first half of that game last year. They were on their third quarterback. He was a transfer from a lower level who couldn't break a window with the football. And they just went right up and down the field. And that it's just burned in my brain. Not to mention the Ole Miss game, the Missouri game, Bama game, Florida State game. Like, we all know those. And because LSU won the A&M game, it may not be as fresh in people's minds. It is mine. And I'm still concerned about that. So I'm not going to sit here and hem and haw and rant and rave about LSU being 14th. That sounds about right. I think the chalk on this LSU team, as we sit here in May, I reserve the right to change my mind. Probably will in August. I think the chalk suggests something around 9-3. And 9-3 is probably right there at 14 out of the playoff. You catch a break here or there and you turn it into 10-2, all of a sudden you're 11th and you're in the playoff. You get on the wrong side of a couple of breaks and you go 8-4, well, now you're back towards the low 20s and you're out of the playoff. But like, that seems about right to me, 14. If the offense is humming like we hope and the defense is fixed like we hope, I think 10-2 is right there. If there are bumps on either side of the road, I think 14, 15, 18, 20 sounds about right. Today, in May. And I think Mark Slayball's kind of got that pigeonholed where it probably ought to be. You're right there in the discussion with Tennessee, who he's got 15th, Clemson, who he's got 16th, Oklahoma is 18th. Like, that feels like the waters LSU is swimming in right now. I don't think LSU is necessarily swimming in Georgia's waters right now, Ohio State's waters right now. And everybody, Texas had a better year last year than LSU. But I think right there around 15 seems about right, and that's where Mark Slayball has LSU penciled in his post-spring top 25. You can read that story over on ESPN.com. Speaking of stories, this story out of, I guess, Gainesville is ridiculous. I will get you filled in on it coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio, video, security solutions, AVSSLA.com. We're talking about football. You still got some time to make sure your house is the house to watch all the games in this fall. Whether it's LSU games, whether it's Saints games, make sure your house is the place to be. And you do that with the perfectly mounted television, looks great, performs very well. Do that with the surround sound system, can be put in just in the living room, home entertainment area, or you can have it put in some other rooms and sync the TV to it so that if you've got a game watching party and some people are in the kitchen and some people are on the outside patio and some people are inside, you don't have the volume at 4 different levels talking over each other. One's delayed, one's not. No, it's all synced up together because of the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. You may not know what you don't know about home entertainment systems. The folks at Audio Video Security Solutions do know. I didn't know anything, and Mitchell Fisher came into my home and really helped us out, and it's been fantastic for us at the new house to have all the gizmos and gadgets that they put in. It's a lot of fun. Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com is the website. AVSSLA.com is the website. That's Audio Video Security Solutions.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985.
Hannigruff, join us for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from Roca Pizzeria. LSU baseball will be going on alongside the show, so be with us along with Scott Rabelais, Wes Reynolds, and professional handicapper Randy McKay. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Wednesday, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the mic icon to send us your thoughts in audio form. Your message could be played on air during Off the Bench, the Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review. Speak up, tell us your location, and be heard. Find our app in the Apple or Google Play Store. For direct links, visit 1045ESPN.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
So the news out of Gainesville is that Jaden Rashada, former highly touted quarterback recruit who committed to Miami and then committed to and signed with Florida and then asked out of that that NLI, and then went to Arizona State and played a little bit for them and now is at Georgia. So 4 different schools involved here. He sued the University of Florida, Billy Napier, and a Florida booster because of a botched NIL situation. Now, this was all taking place when truly NIL was the wild, wild west. The floodgates had been opened. This was quote-unquote legal, and nobody knew what was coming or what was going, and people were just throwing checks around, and it was nuts. And I think this says more about what went on in the past as opposed to what's going to go on in the future. But here is the chain of events that went on with this young man as he was exiting high school and entering college. Essentially, Rashada had agreed to an NIL deal with LifeWallet and Miami that was going to pay him about $9 million. Diaz, the big booster over there in Miami, is throwing around a lot of cash, and Rashada was the guy that Miami decided they wanted. So there was going to be about a $9 million deal that was headed Rashada's way to play for Miami. But Florida was not going to give in. and this was Billy Napier's first year on the job, and he wanted this guy to play for Florida. So he basically said, whatever you need to have happen to come to Florida, we'll make that happen. And so a prominent Florida booster, Mr. Hugh Hathcock, was the one in the middle of this from a financial backing perspective. And basically, they offered Rashada north of $13 million, $13.85 million, to switch his commitment from Miami to Florida.
$14 million?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a sniffing amount of money. And he said, okay, well, I'm a Gator then. Chomp, chomp. $14 million, let's cook. Except the money wasn't showing up. And they were supposed to wire some money. They were supposed to be a $500,000 advance, and then there was supposed to be $1 million wired as soon as Hugh Hathcock landed from a flight he was on, and the whole thing started to fall apart. So Rashada looked around and he said, you know what? I'm out. I'm going to Arizona State where my dad played, and I'll play there. And he did play 3 games there. It was pretty pedestrian 3-game run as a freshman. He completed 54% of his throws, threw 4 touchdowns, 3 picks. Wasn't great. Whatever. He's headed to Georgia. And now he's going back and saying, hey, by the way, y'all promised me all this stuff at Florida, and you haven't delivered on any of it. I'm suing you for all this. And so for me, I have 2 main takeaways from this, and they don't have anything to do with Jaden Rashada, quite frankly. I think what has happened with him, the people around him, has been unfortunate. I don't think that 18-year-olds have a head on their shoulders capable of handling that kind of situation more often than not. And it just, the whole thing spiraled out of control. But I don't really blame him for that. I'm not concerned with the outcome for him. He's going to have his day in court, and we'll see what happens. But, one, I believe the days of boosters looking at a high school player and saying, hey, you, $14 million are over. This was the Wild Wild West. People got excited. Billionaires are throwing cash around. I don't think individual high school athletes are going to be garnering $14 million contracts. Maybe I'm dead wrong, but the return on that investment is almost zero, and there's a reasonable chance this guy can't play. I'm not talking about Rashada, whoever you give the $14 million to. You could go down a list. If I asked you, Joe LSU fan, to go down the list of the highly recruited players that didn't pan out in football, basketball, or baseball, you could go on for 10 minutes. And so could the guy who's spending $14 million. So I think that day is done. Do I think there are $1.4 million deals to be had? I do. Do I think in some circumstances there are $2.5 million deals to be had? I do. Do I think we're getting to $15 million? I don't. I do not think we are close to that level anymore. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't have the knowledge, but I don't believe that's the case. And the second thing here is Billy Napier handled this incredibly poorly. And I realize it's a tough spot for a coach to be in, to have the immaturity of high schoolers, not talking about Rashada individually, but just high schoolers in general, and the ego and checkbooks that come with billionaires, and try to marry those two things together. That is not admirable thing at all. But there's just very little evidence to me that Billy Napier can handle any part of this job. Their recruiting's been average. The NIL situation's been a disaster. The wins and losses have stunk. The quarterback play's been mediocre. Like, there's nothing I can point to about what Florida's done since Billy Napier got there that would insinuate that he's going to figure this out. I'm not there every day. I don't pretend to know everything that a head coach does, but I can look at some objective factors, starting with wins and losses, and suggest this is not going well. And when I see these wild promises being tossed about here or there and suggestions that, hey, this guy's going to land from this flight and wire you $1 million. Don't worry about that. Like, who? What? This is just not managed very properly. And again, it goes back to this whole thing about inducing players to come to your school solely for cash, which is obviously what was happening here. I don't know if Jaden Rashada liked or disliked at all Miami or Florida or Arizona State. But if you're constantly chasing a paycheck, which he certainly was at the beginning of this, is that really the guy that you want on your team from an attitude perspective? I'm not suggesting people that sign in free agency for the best deal are greedy or bad teammates. But if that's your only attachment in a world where you're free to go wherever you want the next year, like when you sign a high-priced free agent in the MLB to a 4-year deal, you don't have to worry about him getting cranky and leaving after 1 year. In college, you do. So having players come to you for only one reason is iffy to stake your program to. And that's the same conversation we had last week about Brian Kelly saying, oh, I'm not buying players. If you feel like you've got a guy who's only there for the money and that's it, their attitude might not be the best. And that can be detrimental. There's so many factors at play here. And this is just one of those situations that went wrong. And because it was so early in the process, I don't think we're doomed to repeat it. I don't think it's some black eye on the sport. I think that some people got out over their skis, said some things that they shouldn't have said, did some things they shouldn't have done, and there was the 17, 18, 19-year-old in the middle of all of it who just kind of got swept up in the mayhem. I have no idea if Jaden Rashada is good at football or not. None. Clearly Miami thought so. Clearly Florida thought so. I think Arizona State probably thought so. And I guess Georgia's willing to take a shot too. But we've seen this guy play for 3 games. And it's not like he set the world on fire. He certainly wouldn't command $14 million on the open market today. But again, I don't think those days are coming back anytime soon. We'll see if he can play at Georgia. I kind of feel bad for him a little bit. But the thing here is, like, Billy Napier, like, get it together. It just seems like mess in Gainesville right now, and I don't see any way that Billy gets out of it, quite frankly. So we'll see. That's our thoughts on Jaden Rashada and the drama over in Gainesville. We'll see what that lawsuit entails. It wouldn't surprise me if it cost Billy Napier's job, but we'll see. All right, when we come back, Sharif Ishak talking some Saints. We're looking up at Hoover right now. 3-2 tied. South Carolina threatening with 2 on and 2 out in the top of the third. LSU fans pulling for Alabama in that one as they cling to that 1-run lead. Sharif's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Every shot, every goal, ESPN Bet has fans covered for the biggest moments on the road to a championship. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN is the only place to find special offers and promotions from your favorite ESPN shows and personalities throughout the playoffs. New users can get a bet reset up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. In partnership with LeBears Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. We'll be recapping LSU Georgia from the SEC tournament, and Shea Dixon stops by 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Ball is flying out of the yard at the Hoover Met in Game 2. South Carolina's hit at least 2 home runs in this inning. I probably missed one. Ethan Petrie hit one, and then there was another one that just flew out of the yard. I think a 3-run homer. It's 6-3 Gamecocks now in the top of the 3rd inning. Work to do for those Alabama bats there in Hoover. Out to Jim's Firearms Hotline right now. Sharif Ishak from WDSU talking all things New Orleans. Sharif, how are you?
We're so back. You won't let me talk about it, but we're so back.
Who's back?
We're back. Baseball team is so back.
The Saints baseball team?
Yep, the Saints baseball team is so back.
Let me talk about the Saints, and then we can talk about some baseball. Today, the reports were that Trevor Penning may be working at right tackle. Taliesin Fuanga may be working at left tackle. What do you hear when you hear that?
Well, during the offseason leading up to the OTAs, Dennis Allen said it would be a clean slate for Trevor Penning, and it was correct. He said it today. It's a clean slate for him. They're just going to see how it goes. They're going to put him at right tackle for right now and see how it goes. John Benton, the offensive line coach, said the same exact thing. They want to work him there and see if they can get the most out of him there and put Taliesin Fuanga at left tackle. And if it works, it works. If not, then they're just going to have to figure it out, maybe move Fuanga back to right tackle. But that's what they're going with for now, and maybe it works out. And in the first-round pick they made in 2022, it actually works out for them.
So reports were today that David Bakhtiari, who's been an all-pro with the Packers and is a free agent, got a pretty good bill of health today. I wouldn't suggest he was like he was when he was 24, but looks like he's trending towards playing next year in the NFL. Would you approve of the Saints signing David Bakhtiari to a 1-year deal to play left tackle as an insurance policy, or maybe a guy that could be an upgrade for you?
I mean, look, Hunt, it doesn't hurt at this point. You've got to do your homework, and if Bakhtiari's the guy, bring him in. Why not? They brought Lucas Patrick in just to give them some depth along the line, but that's more interior than tackle position. So it won't hurt, Hunt. Honestly, I would take my shot at it. I mean, if he works out, he works out. If not, it's a cheap signing, and you cut him at the end of training camp. So why not? I always say why not when it comes to this offensive line that could be the biggest, mystery as they go into the off-season pro workouts and into training camp.
Let's play hypotheticals, because if Trevor Penning goes out there at right tackle and looks great and is your starting right tackle, well, then there's no discussion to be had. He's the right tackle. Let's go. But on the other side, there becomes a discussion, because if he goes out there and right tackle and can't play in training camp in the first preseason game, 2 preseason games, at what point do the Saints just wash their hands and go, okay, we're going to start looking at other options and you can be a healthy scratch?
I would think it would be during preseason games, training camp. I mean, I just don't think they're going to go they're not going to give him that long of a leash. I know they try and experiment everything with him this off season. The leash isn't going to be long, Hunt. I mean, he's had, 2 seasons now, and I know they don't want to give up on a first round pick and an investment because they traded up to do it. I just think the leash won't be that long for him. If it doesn't work out at right tackle, they'll just say, you know what, wash our hands with it. We tried, we messed up, we admit it, and we're going to move on from Trevor Penning. It just did not work out. It has to be during training camp in the preseason games.
We'll see. I mean, it's not there yet. It's just that's the interesting hypothetical. It's not interesting if he wins the right tackle job. That's great, but we don't have anything to talk about like he's a right tackle. The interesting variable there is do you move him into guard as your swing guy? I don't know at what point you decide, well, we're just not gonna deal with it. Obviously, Mickey Loomis and Dennis Allen have spoken a little bit, whether it's the golf tournament yesterday or at OTAs today. Anything pique your interest those guys have had to say?
I would say that, Chase Young Dennis said that he's coming along. We won't see him anytime soon. I think we expected that you wouldn't see him maybe until a couple weeks into training camp. And maybe his diagnosis gets better before training camp with the neck surgery that he had after they signed him. Other than that, I mean, the schedule, the back end of the schedule and the start of the schedule is going to be tough for them. And, just the idea of the draft picks. We haven't talked to Mickey Loomis since the draft happened, completed. So, I mean, they were going for an offensive lineman in the first round. They never really were chasing Spencer Rattler. It just so happens he was there in the 5th round and they took a shot at him today. Didn't have a great day today. Threw a pick and almost threw a second pick. Jay Kaner looked pretty good in today's OTA. But other than that, it wasn't anything crazy that stands out. Cam Jordan also talked about we can't lose this game to Sean Payton. We know who Sean Payton is. Made a joke about how, I may not have the game circled. I have this game circled on my calendar. It's fine. And he's made a couple. Cam can be sarcastic. I think he has it circled and he's ready. But other than that, man, I mean, that's just kind of, they're excited for the OTAs. They just want to see what, Clint Kubiak and the new offense will do moving on after this practice and next week when we get to see him again on Tuesday.
For me, the most interesting piece to it was Loomis talking about going through the offseason conserving resources. That's the first time I've felt like they've acknowledged that, and I feel like that's a positive for the direction of the organization. It may not be the most fun thing Saints fans have ever gone through, but it feels like a change in philosophy.
Yeah, it's getting the books back in order. It's a smart move. It's something they probably wanted to do years ago, but couldn't because they were still in this whole we can win now mode. I just think that, they can feel like they can maybe compete, but they're not thinking we're in this Super Bowl win now mode. It's more of let's not let this thing catch fire and become a bottom 5 team in the NFL mode. They're just trying to keep it afloat and so they can get the books completely fixed and, they can go shopping, not bargain shopping, real shopping, not on a clearance rack, going after actual real players that can make this team a real contender down the line.
He's Sharif Ishak, WDSU down there in New Orleans. All right, you can talk about the LSU baseball team now. Are they going to win the national championship?
Hey, look, man, you know how baseball is. When it gets hot, when your team gets hot at the right time going into the postseason and going into an NCAA tournament, you truly don't know what's going to happen. But just to see what they're pitching right now, they're playing defense. Tommy White, boy, he's making some money down the stretch of the season with his glove and his ability to field the ball with his hand like I saw today. The leadership, his bat, hitting for average, hitting for power, been awesome. And Gage Jump and Luke Holman, you don't need to say much more about those two guys. They've really started to pitch well, and the bullpen's pitched well. Just wish they had a third starter. I think every team wishes they had a third starter. But other than that, man, look, you can't ask for much more. You cover the team more than anybody I know. You call the games on radio and on TV at times, and I just feel like it's a change from the 3-12 start. I know it was a lot of good teams, but it feels like they beat the teams they were supposed to beat down the stretch.
Yeah, a little bit of change from that start. I know you're pro Omaha. Are you pro Hoover?
I'm not really a big Hoover person. It's just not really much to do there other than watch baseball. And I love baseball, but I just need some other things to do. I just need to see a city, in the backdrop. It's just not much there to do than baseball. But if you love baseball, I mean, I've covered it a few times when I worked at WAP, and I tell you what, I enjoyed covering it. But it's just if you're like not, if you're like looking for something else to do, yeah, it's a lot of baseball. It's fun though. It's fun if you like a lot of baseball.
It is. We'll talk next week. Thanks, Sharif.
All right, man. Not on Herb.
Not on Herb. Little Pels shout out there, right there at the end. Look, we'll go to Hoover. Now it's 6-3. South Carolina leads Alabama, but the Tide have runners on the corners and one out. Very offensive game between two teams that are pretty offensive teams at this point and did not bring their aces back on short rest. So a lot of offense being scored in Hoover here. I'll get you ready for LSU and Kentucky coming up in the next segment, and we'll play some Take It or Leave It and get on down the road. It is a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Visit us at LeBear's Baton Rouge this spring for all the hoops and hockey playoff action. We've got the biggest screens, the best food and drink. Plus, we're giving away Penn cash bonuses and prizes to Penn Play Rewards members. Not a member? Join today by downloading and registering for the Penn Play app from the App Store. Unlock all the fun, including a chance to win up to $2,000 in Penn cash. All this and more make LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino your spring sports viewing headquarters. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Hoover for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail.
Tanner, join us for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from Roca Pizzeria. LSU baseball will be going on alongside the show, so be with us along with Scott Rabelais, Wes Reynolds, and professional handicapper Randy McKay. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Wednesday, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Join us this one last Friday for Live After 5. Clock Out and Rock Out with us this Friday, May 24th in downtown Baton Rouge for the free concert series from 5 to 8 p.m. This season was filled with incredible music, delicious food, talented artists, and a lively second line parade. Like I said, May 24th, this Friday, come out to see the Michael Foster Project for Live After 5.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
LSU played a hell of a ball game this morning. Tigers beat Georgia 9-1. They were sound in every aspect of the ball game. Gage Jump was sensational through 7 innings of one-run baseball. He was great. Griffin Herring was excellent after his first 2 batters where he issued 2 walks in front of Charlie Condon. He was very good. LSU was fantastic defensively, made a number of sensational plays. Tommy White with a bare hand pickup, Aston Larson crashing into the wall. Mac Bingham made a couple of nice plays. Stephen Milo made a nice defensive play going to his backhand side. LSU got some clutch hits with 2 outs, moved some base runners. They were really, really good in the game today, which is why I was surprised to hear Wes Johnson make a ridiculous opening statement to his press conference. And this is what the head coach at Georgia, who spent last year in Baton Rouge, and I would imagine has some reasonably warm feelings towards the LSU program. Here's what he had to say after they got beaten 9-1 in the SEC opener.
Yeah, guys, I think there's times in this game when, you get beat, and then there's times you let the other team win. And you look at the way we played today, and I feel that's where it is. I mean, we gave up 11 singles. We walked too many guys. We missed too many fastballs in the strike zone.
Huh? You let the other team win? Georgia did not make an error today. They didn't walk 14 guys. It's not like they left a ton of guys on base. They got their butts kicked today. Huh? There are sometimes you get beat. That was maybe LSU's most complete game of the year. What an odd statement by Wes Johnson.
I wonder if maybe this is him posturing for his team, just to kind of maybe say something for them to make them, not feel this, I guess, the sting of this loss as badly, and maybe just, give them a little bit more confidence as opposed to thinking that they just played really horribly. I mean, they didn't play well. There's no question about that, but I guess maybe his thought is to just say it that way to make it sound a little bit better. I don't know.
Well, they walked 7 guys, which is too many, but they didn't make an error. I mean, LSU out-hit them 14-6. LSU left 13 guys on base and still won by 8. That was a thorough beatdown. I don't know what he's getting at there. I mean, Braswell had 3 hits, White had 3 hits, Pearson had 2 hits, Milam had 2 hits, Milam hit a homer. I don't know what he's talking about. I appreciate his help with Paul Skeen's development, but that was a very poor open to a press conference by Wes Johnson. So Georgia will head on home. They'll host a regional next week, but they very likely not going to be a top 8 national seed. Briefly on Kentucky before we play some Take It or Leave It. Kentucky played great this year. No question about it. Won 22 league games. Statistically speaking, they don't jump off the page. They're 5th in the league in batting average. They're 6th in the league in slugging. They're 4th in the league in on-base percentage. They're 4th in the league in runs. 4th in doubles. They did hit more home runs later in the season. They're 9th in the league, though, in home runs as far as they don't strike out a lot. That's something they do very, very well. They're second to last in the SEC in terms of strikeouts. Only Alabama strikes out fewer times than them. ERA, Kentucky is 7th in the league. Opposing batting average, they're 7th in the league. As far as striking batters out, they're dead last in the SEC. It's not a staff with powerful stuff, but they win a lot. So I'm not here to completely tear this team down. They're very, very good. You cannot win 22 games in this league without being very, very good. I've given some thought to what I would do, or what I think Jay Johnson's going to do with his pitching. He said today in the post-game press conference that Gage Jump's going to pitch in the big leagues. He's going to pitch on 4 days rest in the big leagues. I didn't feel bad about doing that. If he feels that way about Gage Jump, I think he feels that way about Luke Holman. I think you'll see Luke Holman tomorrow. I personally would not throw Luke Holman tomorrow. I would save him, give him that 5th day of rest. Tomorrow's not a win-or-go-home game. I don't believe it's going to be massively detrimental to LSU's NCAA tournament hopes. I think that you're playing the number 3 RPI team. It's a good team. You throw your bullpen out there and see what happens. I believe that's what I would do. I think he's going to start Luke Holman in the game tomorrow. So we'll see. LSU and Kentucky, again, at 9:30 tomorrow morning, and we'll be on right after. Conceivably, that one goes final as we were today. All right, Beck, take it or leave it.
All righty, first one here. The NFL is considering the possibility of scheduling a regular season game in Australia.
No!
And it could happen as soon as the 2025 season.
No!
Or as late as the 2026 season.
No.
I guess you're going to leave it.
I'll go ahead and leave that. I don't care about playing in Australia. That is so far away. It's so far.
It is far.
These guys are 6'6", 340 in some cases. They're beating each other senseless on this field, and then you got to jump on an airplane and fly 17 hours back across the globe. That is absurd. They just don't need to do this. And every single thing we do in every sport revolves entirely around money, and I don't like it.
It is an absolute detriment to whichever team has to play that game. It will affect not only the week but prior to the game, but also the week after. So you're gonna have 3 weeks of the season that are gonna be affected by this one game. When everyone else that doesn't have to play that game are going to be benefiting from not having to travel 14, 15 hours across the planet to play a football game.
It's every player that's played it hates it. I just don't like it. But I'm going to lose that battle every time.
Yeah, you will. All right, moving on. As Mr. Sharif Ishak mentioned, Herbert Jones was named to. Well, he didn't mention it. He just said not on her, but he said that because Herbert Jones was named to the first team All-NBA defensive team today. Jones will be one of the best defenders in the league for the next 5 years. Take it or leave it.
Absolutely take it. He's fantastic out there. That's a key piece to a championship-level team, and I don't think anybody believes the Pelicans are a championship-level team right now. But do you think they're miles away from where Minnesota was this year, miles away from where Dallas was this year? No. So I think there's reason to continue to push forward. Hope you can stay healthy, and Herb's a big piece of that.
All right, next one here. LSU women's golfer Ingrid Lindblad won the 2023-2024 Annika Award, which goes to the most outstanding collegiate female golfer. Lindblad will be winning LPGA events soon. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. That's really hard to do. It's really hard for anybody not named Nelly Korda to win one right now, but I think she's got every bit of the ability to do that. Rose Zhang was the best college player last year. She went up and has already won twice. Or maybe more than that. She won her first start, and then she won 2 weeks ago. So maybe she's won more than that. But she stepped up and was in that class already. I think Rose is probably a better player than Ingrid marginally as a college player. But Ingrid's a hell of a player, #1 amateur in the world, and is close to her professional career. So looks like the Lady Tigers are getting to the match play portion of the national championship.
Yep.
She'll have a chance to finish her college career off in style. She's really, really good. So I'll be pulling for her.
All right, the last one here. The NBA Conference Finals are set. The Mavericks or Timberwolves will have no chance against the Celtics. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. Look, Kyrie and Luka are pretty good. Edwards is playing pretty good right now. Towns is pretty good. Will I pick the Celtics to win that series? I will. Do I think that the other side has no chance to beat them? I do not. I think that they've got a reasonable chance. But there's some heat on the Celtics here because everybody in the basketball world is looking at them going, y'all are the best team left by a lot. So go ahead and win that, and we'll see how they handle that. This group has never won a championship, so we'll see if they can get that done. That's it for Take It or Leave It here on this Tuesday. Our Tuesday shows are brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. Sports trivia tonight coming out at 8:30. Get some delicious jumbo chicken wings, whatever sauce you desire. I'm a blue cheese guy. Maybe you want to go ranch or blue cheese back.
Blue cheese. In fact, I like that. So I was converted to blue cheese by working at Pluckers. Actually, I did not eat blue cheese, but when I started working there, I tried theirs, and it changed me.
It's very good. Love it, love it, love it. So yeah, get some wings, ranch or blue cheese, whatever you prefer. Watch some sports and come play some sports trivia tonight at 8:30. It's a good one in Hoover right now. Alabama jumped out to a 3-0 lead. South Carolina stormed back with 6 runs in the third inning to lead 6-3. But Alabama's threatening again with runners on the corners and 1 out there. If you're an LSU fan, my suggestion would be to pull for Alabama here. It's not the most comfortable thing we do, but I don't think you hate their baseball team quite as much as you do their
also
football team.
Also saw Kendall Rogers on Twitter. ECU, East Carolina, was down 4-0 to Rice. They brought it back though. Scored 5 runs in the 6th inning, I think. So I think they're currently winning. So that's a good thing.
That's good. Cliff Godwin and the Pirates go East Carolina. We're pulling for them as well. They need to win that tournament so a bid is not stolen. But LSU wins 9-1 this morning and put themselves in a really, really good position for the NCAA tournament. They'll play Kentucky coming up tomorrow at 9:30. That's it for us here on this Tuesday. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound. You can certainly find us. I opened up the show the first 30 minutes talking LSU and Georgia and LSU spot on the NCAA tournament bubble. It is fluid by the hour here as we go on conference tournament week. Glenn West is with us to break it all down at 1:30. He's a senior writer at Go 24/7. Saints Sound at 1:45 from Mickey Loomis and Dennis Allen. You can find that on YouTube at Hunt on Saints. ESPN's Way Too Early College Football Top 25. Jaden Rashada suing Florida. That's some football news for you. And then Sharif Ishak talking Saints OTAs at 2:30. Matt's going to drive you home on After Further View. We'll see you tomorrow right after LSU and Kentucky go final, presumably. That'll be, of course, at 1 o'clock. Have a great Tuesday. See you tomorrow on the Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance.